All right, so this is my audience. You guys can sit down, thank you. So, I would like you guys to imagine having only one day off of work a week. You wake up in the morning, you clock into work at about 7 a.m. You take a shortened lunch break so you can devote more time to work to meet unrealistic expectations, raising the bar higher and higher day to day. And you might get home around 5 or 6 p.m. to have dinner with your family, have enough time to watch something on TV, and then go back to sleep and start it all over again. But you have one whole day off during the week. What would you do with your day off, knowing that you have to go back and work another 6 days straight? This is how a lot of people worked over 80 years ago, but more importantly, some people still work that way today. Up until about 1940, when the 40-hour, 5-day work week was put into effect, the times that we know today. So technology has been pushing our society, has been evolving our society in many different ways that we haven't seen before. And my goal today is to arm you guys with the information to challenge that status quo. And by that I mean going to a 4-day work week. And I'll be going over with you the where, the what, and the why. So I'll be talking about where our 40-day work week, 5-day work week, 40-hour, 5-day work week comes from. I'll be talking about what a 4-day work week actually is. And then finally we'll talk about why do we actually need a 4-day work week. And to get started, we have to travel a little bit back in time to 1868, 1867, where there were mostly unheard of 8-hour work days. But in these 2 years, there were laws passed that mandated 8-hour work days for a very small subset of federal workers. We step forward into 1884, where the Federation of Organized Trades and Labor Unions demand all workers have 8-hour work days by 1886, 2 years later. And on the 4th of May, 1886, the labor unions call for demonstration after that deadline was not met. And this demonstration resulted in the loss of 7 police officers and 4 workers' lives. And even with those losses, and early into the 1900s, major changes were not made, or the 8-hour work week wasn't really affected, or the 8-hour workday was not really affected, until 1914, when Henry Ford gains major attention for implementing the 5-day work week, the 8-hour days, all simultaneously while increasing his wages from $2.36 to $5. And he's quoted as saying, "Every man needs more than one day a week for rest and recreation. The Ford Company always has sought to promote an ideal home life for its employees. We believe that in order to live properly, every man should have more time to spend with his family." Stepping forward into 1919, as more people are aware of that 5-day work week that is being created by other businesses, 4 million Americans begin to strike. Then that's about 20% of the total industrial labor force. But it won't be until 1938 when President Franklin Roosevelt signs the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, where the Americans will see change to their 44-hour work week, which is what's signed there. And then 2 years of amendments will take it from that 44 to the 40-hour work week that we know now. And it's important to point out, while a lot of people think that Henry Ford is the reason that our country is in the 40-hour work week that we're at now, that labor unions, as shown in our timeline, labor unions were proposing and fighting for this decades before that took place. So next we'll get into the what is a 4-day work week. And really it's taking your pay that you would be normally given over 40 hours of the week, and then now splitting that and distributing that to your 32 hours. This gives the employees flexibility of scheduling, but another thing people think is that nobody would be open on Fridays, but the realistic expectation is if you have childcare, which is talked about later, you have businesses that are open on a normal Monday through Friday. The businesses still operate in their Monday through Friday, but the employees operate in a 32-hour maximum. And this is very much like Henry Ford doubling the wages while simultaneously cutting those hours. And you might be asking yourself, why are we going to pay people more to do less work? And I would argue that we already do this. A study this year, not a study, a survey this year from Virgin Pulse was they conducted a survey on 1,000 non-Virgin employees, and they found that 5% or 50 of the employees had no distractions at all during the day. But split amongst that other 95%, 520 employees said that they were distracted from 1 to 20% of the day, and the remaining 43%, 430 employees, said that they were distracted from 21 to 75+% of the day, given the technology, the meetings, the water cooler talk, anything and everything. People also like to ask, what about the medical careers and our personnel who have to work 24/7 to support critical operations? And a lot of those people have already worked kind of a system out for themselves. Nurses, for example, some nurses work 3 days at 12 hours with 4 days off. But as we know from our Stanford studies on hours worked versus productivity, that the more hours we work, the more likely we are to be less productive. And it's even possible that we can cause negative productivity if we work too many hours straight. And now we get back to the childcare aspect. So again, businesses are not closed on Fridays. But an important statistic with the childcare is from care.com, 1 in 3 Americans spend 20% of their household income or more on childcare. And to put that into perspective, in 2017 in the United States, the average weekly cost of childcare was $211. So if we move to a 4-day work week throughout the week, then parents are looking at saving $200 per month per child. But more importantly, you get to spend more time with your children and your family. So if Henry Ford thought it was great to lower the time and up the wages for his people to increase their well-being and to increase the productivity, then I don't see why it's so far-fetched that we can't do that. We can't at least explore that or attempt that within another century. So finally, we're going to get down to the why do we need a 4-day work week? So technology is rapidly evolving society at a pace that we've never seen before. It's important that we stay proactive versus reactive as a society. One of the biggest benefits of a system like this is that the overall happiness of employees. So you give people the chance, the time to hang out more with their friends and family and do the things that they enjoy. And we've already discussed the parents' cost savings with childcare, but it's more important, there's other aspects of that. There's the time that they need to do important things like medical appointments and errands. Another important benefit is when the businesses move to a shortened work week, employees feel more valued and loyal when they're given the opportunity to still complete the work, but have the flexibility to take time off or have time off to do the things that are important to them versus what's dictated as important to them. So when we treat our employees with value and respect versus being tools, they're willing to band together like a community to help solve hardships and problems. It's important to me that we find the equilibrium between true work-life balance. And I don't think that we're currently doing that today. I think we still have another iteration we can go through and find out with that 4-day work week. In order for you to successfully challenge the status quo, I needed you to understand the where, the what, and the why. Where we came from and how we got to this 40-hour, 5-day work week, the what of what a 4-day work week might look like, and the why as to what the benefits are, why we would want to do a 4-day work week. My hope is that if you're an entrepreneur, a leader of a company, or someone who can make these decisions, that you will take these thoughts into consideration about how you value the people who work for you. Again, my hope is that we can get away from using people as numbers and tools and instead value them as individuals. Thank you. And I have time for one question, please.
Come on, Marilyn.
I know, it's like,
The 32 hours.
yeah. I think the only question is what type of businesses actually can tolerate or have, like you said, it can't be in a 24-hour facility more than likely, or so where's your focus on what type of businesses would this work best for?
So I see the ideal situation for this as the office work, the places where you have too many distractions, you have too many needless, pointless meetings. So if you go back, we'll go back to the people being distracted throughout the day, and it's a really big thing to me because when you spend 2 to 3 hours in a meeting, how important is that for everybody there to not waste their time? How much of it is just kind of filler and just people hanging out and wasting time versus being productive? So I think that when you bring the hours down, you have to find somewhere to trim the fat and the things that are least important at work. And then you're better able to prioritize the things that are important. Hey, we've come up with signals to say, hey, I can't be bothered today at work because I'm seriously working on something or something like that. So, headphones on, a flag at your cubicle or something saying hard at work or whatever you want. So, cool. Thank you for your time. If you guys will come up here real quick, wave to the camera for the last little bit.
We'd have dressed better if we didn't know we were going to be on camera.
Thank you.